A lady for the people, woman of the people, our representative, Marsha Caddle. Anyway, Marsha step hill, army gun step, so BLP stepping with a brave heart. You know see the bees, got the whole place wet till the D's we don't take car. Anyway, me step, Marsha Caddle gun step, car BLP stepping with a brave heart. Me and more man, even showing how we corner. Tell the D's we don't take car. This lady so quiet, intelligent, hardworking. Marsha says she can't stop helping. She don't do the finna money in her face. South Central, any problems, just call her. Marsha support the old and the young, yeah, working as a team. South Central, and you know what me mean. And nothing is greater than Marsha. See all I wanna accomplish then dream. We go where BLP go, they don't lie. BLP's riding for you and for I.
Good night, good night.
BLP go, they don't lie. Don't ask me.
Wait, Mr. DJ, you holding a double here. Good night to Britain's Hill. Good night, St. Michael South Central. Good night, St. Michael South. Good night, Barbados Labour Party, and good night to all of the wonderful people of Barbados who are watching us. Now I can let my team. How this team look? This team may look sweet. This South Central team may look sweet. It is because of this crew and all the people of South Central that we can do the work that we do. I can let the team take it ease and go down tonight because the place slippery, outside wet. I want everybody to be safe. But tonight, it is such a wonderful thing to be here in Britain's Hill with you. And this is a national meeting. This is a national meeting. But you will have to allow me to have a little bit of a spot meeting mood tonight. And to talk directly to you, my people, in Britain's Hill, in St. Michael, South Central. I want to talk to y'all direct tonight because this is a short campaign. And we got things to talk. Because Britain's Hill, and I talking about Villa Road, I talking about Laynes Road, I talking about Valerie, Scott's Gap, Beals Gap, where we were today, Column Rock, Rollock Court, Wares Gap, Britain's Crossroad, and I hope I call all because I know if I ain't call all, I get me in trouble when I get down from here tonight. But this is a community that I feel I have been able to get very, very, very close to. And Britain's Hill, you and I, we have a special relationship, and I mean that. When I look around at the people who are working with us from these communities, it was not always that way. And we've done a lot of work to build up that relationship, and I'm really here tonight to talk to you about relationship. Because anybody who knows me knows that I am not in the business of transactional politics. I was not raised that way. And the people who helped bring me up, and Roshana just talked about it, because a lot of us were raised by a lot of people. And it had to be built on the relationships that we had. And it's not just a conversation to British Hill tonight, but this constituency runs from Clapham Road to Hinesbury Road. A woman looked at me today when we were canvassing and said, oh, this constituency is long. There are a lot of communities. And sometimes, because other people are not right next to us, we only see what is right next to us. But part of what I have come tonight to talk about is how this Barbados Labour Party way of governance and this Barbados Labour Party way of representation and this Marsha Caddle way and this Kurt Humphrey way of representation is about relationships. It is about family. And this is all family in front here tonight, and all from Valerie to Scott's Gap and all around here is family. Now, I think, and I heard the Prime Minister say it the other day, that I feel that we have come to a mature point in our democracy. And I think that you have come to trust this Barbados Labour Party government enough that we have to have some difficult conversations. They need not be difficult. But we have to be able to speak frankly to each other. And I feel that we need to be able to speak about what you should and can expect from your representative, but equally, I can't do this by myself. You can see that. Kurt cannot do it by himself. And we all have to do a part to make sure that we're able to create the Barbados that we want. So the Britain South story and the St. Michael South Central story is one of relationship. It is one of listening and then delivering. And I will tell you what I mean. When I first went on Valerie Pastor in 2016, the folks said to me, you see that pavilion there? That's a problem. And if you want to have any conversations with us out here, you got to deal with that pavilion. And I asked, well, what do you mean? And they said to me, what is the sense of having a pavilion open? And the Gully Hill people had the same conversation with me in Carrington Village. What is the sense of having a pavilion open for regular business hours with the children at school? What is the sense of having a pavilion open and there's nothing happening in it? And I said, say less. And it didn't happen right away because we had to work with Charles Griffith. We had to work with the next MP for St. John. And I don't think you all hear me. We had to work with the next member of parliament in the constituency of St. John, Charles Griffith, to be able to make sure that the pavilions and the community centers are fit for purpose and really deliver something for people. And if you are not from Valerie or from this area, and if you are not from Gully Hill and Carrington Village, you may not understand what I mean. But that was a symbol for them. And they're here tonight, the ones that tell me, on a long talk, try and make something happen. They're here tonight. And they said, we need more access. And today, this week, as I speak, we have now a refurbished pavilion that we were able to do ourselves because I am a kind of person that I am not waiting for government, you know. Goodness knows if I could have paved a road myself, you would see me paving the road in Fords Road. I do not wait for the government. Anything that we can do without waiting for government, we do to deliver for people. So we asked for paint, and the private sector gave us paint. And some of the guys came and volunteered to paint and refurbish and fix some of the small things in the pavilion. And we reopened it, and we introduced new activities. And these are the kinds of things, they may not sound fancy to you, they may not sound fancy to the people listening online, but these are the simple things that people are asking for to feel seen. But we didn't stop there. And tonight I want to salute all the people in Britain's Hill that have worked to bring the success that Britain's Hill football has had. That have worked to bring the success that Britain's Hill football has had. But I go further than that because I also want to salute the people that have taken up the little children, the young ones, to be able to take them to a place where they can learn football and compete in tournaments and so on. And it used to be Pete, and people out here know Pete, that used to walk with a trail of little children and carry them on the passer to practice. But we were able to strengthen that and to invest more in that. And what we were able to do, and this was very important to me now, the people around here, and I see one or two of them that knew me from my older days, when I was kicking about the football myself. A lot of y'all don't know that, but don't go and look for the videos. Don't go and look for the footage. But I knew, because of my experience playing football in Barbados and in other places, that football is something that brings communities together. But not only that, it gives us an opportunity to get young people in a space that they enjoy and where they feel comfortable, and to be able to teach them things other than the game. And so we created the Valerie Youth Football Club. And I got to salute again, and I tell y'all, forgive me because this is a spot meeting for me tonight. And I got to salute people like David Connell, who came and worked with these young people with my support. We got the club registered as a separate club in the BFA. because we wanted to make sure that this was a safe space for these young people. But not only that, and I gotta say something tonight. About Kurt Humphrey. Because this border here is hardly a border. I don't know where Kurt is right now, but I wish I could look in his eyes and say this. He might blush. This border here is hardly a border. And I heard the candidate for St. Michael Southeast tonight talk about the roads that were done out here. And I want to say something. I ain't get to the road discussion yet, but I got to say something about that. Because Kurt and I partner always. From 2017, we were bringing a football tournament to Britain's Hill. And it has now become a national tournament. Every summer, teams around the country know that this football tournament is going to be happening. And we collaborate with people like Bison and David Miller, and men from this constituency and women from this constituency who believe in out here. And this is not just about a tournament. This is about the kinds of things that make people feel like one and make people feel, you know what, in Britain's Hill we know about football though. And the whole country has to turn around and pay attention. But that is the kind of work that Kirk and I do together in this Britain's Hill area. But I got to say something about the road, because remember the candidate for St. Michael Southeast who spoke before me talked about Kirk advocating for Laynes Road, but maybe what she did not know is that Kirk and I had a conversation about how we would address the roads in our constituencies together. And we landed on, because Villa Road is in St. Michael South Central, and Villa Road is also in St. Michael South. Laynes Road is in St. Michael South Central, and Laynes Road is also in St. Michael South. And Kurt said, you know what? Let us do the road on our border so that we can equally benefit and so that people can see that this Barbados Labour Party family is one of solidarity. Because there's not one going forward and left the other behind. That is not how we operate. And so I know that the people in Britain's Hill feel that solidarity between us. And we have also benefited from the tremendous love that you have shown us. And that's why I say tonight it really feels like family here in Britain's Hill. It really feels like family. Now, last night, I was in town. I was in town with Michael Ashley. We had a spot meeting on our border in Halls Road in Ellis Village. And you know, the first thing I said, to be honest, was that there was a time I wanted Ellis Village for myself, because you just had to move the line a little short there. Because Ellis Village is really part of Halls Road. It's part of my community, I feel. But all right, I left them with it. But I got the opportunity last night at that meeting to remind everyone about the model of housing that this Barbados Labour Party practices and has introduced since 2018. Because the notion that introducing housing that creates opportunities for young contractors and subcontractors is a new thing or something we are yet to do, let's correct the record. I remember the night that Mia Motley and I went in the Marl Hole and came into Valerie and talked to the young people out there. And what did we say? We said, listen, I want y'all to organize yourselves and find a way to form companies together. Because some of the home repairs and the new houses that we have to build in these St. Michael communities, we want you to do the work. We want you to be qualified, and we want you to do this work with distinction, and we want to be able to give you contracts and to have you benefit from government procurement in a clear and transparent way. And there's another reason. If you build a house in your community for an old lady next door or for an old gentleman in the back, and you do foolishness with the people's house, guess what? I know where you live because you live side of me. And you have to come and give an account of the foolishness that you did with my house. So it's a built-in incentive for anybody who gets a contract through a transparent procurement process that brings in small businesses and young people that have just started companies. It's a built-in incentive for them to do good work. And I am happy to report tonight that as you see certain houses built by UDC that are scattered throughout this constituency, I want you to know that many of those benefited from the work of small businesses and small contractors throughout St. Michael's South Central. And I know that the same is true on Kirkside in St. Michael's South. We are not making up things or waiting for ideas. These are things that we have done. And these are things that we were preparing to be able to do. Certainly when I joined the economic team with the then opposition leader as she was, and with people like Ryan Strachan and Clyde Maskell and others, we were not waiting. And it is the reason that I don't understand how people that claim to be waiting to take over government cannot have a single original idea in their heads. We didn't wait until the day after the election in 2018 to have a plan for this country. I didn't wait until the day after the election to have a plan for St. Michael's South Central. And I'm not waiting until February 12th to know what we have left to do in this constituency. In 2018, we had a local manifesto. And if you go through that, you will be able to see that many of the things that people asked for, that we put in that South Central manifesto, have been delivered. But not only that, we come back with another document, some overnight reading for you. Because I think that it is easy. And we have to be able to let go of certain lazy political narratives. We have to be able to let go of this notion that if you did not see personally somebody get help from the government or somebody get help from the MP, it means it did not happen. I want to tell South Central and Barbados something tonight. You will never hear me talk about the individual or family help that people get. There are people that benefit from the programs and the care and the commitment and the courage of this representative and this government that you will never know about. And so the notion that if you do not see it fall in front of your feet, and that is why I talk about having difficult conversations, because I feel, Barbados, that we are mature enough now. We are mature enough now to have these conversations. You know, a lady said to me the other day, in Britain Hill too, she said, tell me what you've done for out here. And I had to say to her, my dear, your grandson is on my football team. And I didn't say that as any gotcha moment, but I said it to make the point that often there are benefits that we receive, and often there are things that our families are involved in that, yes, nobody came and laid it at your feet, but you are benefiting from the hard work of a government, you're benefiting from the hard work of a cabinet, and you're benefiting from the hard work of people like Kirk Humphrey and me in these communities. And it is time that we have those conversations, because I still think that we are basing a lot of our political decision-making on the wrong things. This work is about building community and helping people have a sense of pride in where they come from. And that is what we are about in St. Michael's South Central. But this document that I just showed you is not just about what we've been able to do. I talked about the roads, and I talked about Hunts Road in Carrington Village and Lower Pine Plantation Road, and I talked about Villa Road here in this constituency and Laynes Road, which is also in this constituency, that Kirk and I agreed together that we would want to prioritize. But this document is also about the things that we intend to do, because I want to make something else clear up here tonight. I want to make something else clear up here tonight. The process of transformation of a country does not match an election cycle. The process of transforming a country does not fit neatly into a 4-year period or a 5-year period. Some things have been done, and some things will take a longer time. Some things like education transformation, and you heard Tyra speak very well about it tonight because she not too long left the system, see, because she young. I ain't as young as that. But there's something like education transformation where we have to now see, listen, the children that stirring now, as my mother would say, in like the children before, you know. And the fact that COVID happened and they were locked out of a normal education system means that we have to come up with something else. And we have to see how it's going to evolve. Development is a journey. And while you have to hold your government accountable for things that they have committed to, we also have to realize that we have to hold hands and walk together. Because it's going to take all of us, and some of these things are going to take some time. So while we've been able to build quite a few homes with the help of the Urban Development Commission in this constituency, we also have other work to do when it comes to housing. But again, it is about relationships, and it is about solidarity. And I'm talking straight to you tonight. I'm talking straight to you, Britain's Hill, tonight. Because the buildings at Valerie were also a housing solution that were regrettably very poorly built by a Democratic Labour Party administration. But we are the government now. We are the government now. And so the people in the Valerie buildings may be upset tonight. I understand. May be upset tonight that the elevators sometimes stop working. And it is upsetting because there are people in those buildings who have to carry small children, who have to carry groceries, who have a disability, who have health issues, and need to be able to rely on getting up and down the stairs. And so I have been working with the National Housing Corporation and telling them, listen, you have to be able to respond quickly. And the thing is that some of these things are not difficult because maintenance is something that you know you will have to do from time to time. So if you know that this is a part that wears down, buy it in advance and keep it in the basement though. And so I have those conversations with the people at NHC. But I want to have another conversation with you all. Because just as I am harassing the people at NHC to make sure that the buildings are in good working order, I need you to work with your families and your children to make sure that they also care for and respect the facilities of government. I'm not afraid to say that on a platform because sometimes we get frightened. This is a relationship. We're talking relationships tonight. I got things that I got to do for you, and I beg you, please, you got things that you got to do for your community. And if you know that people pressing the buttons in the elevators a few too many times, if you know that people are not caring for the locks and are risking people's safety by allowing people that are not authorized to be in there to get in there, then you have a responsibility to say something and keep your neighbors accountable. I in a spot meeting mood tonight, so forgive me because I'm talking to you all. This is 10 years for me in political service. I got the nomination in 2016. And I feel like it's time now that we could talk to each other straight. When I went down on Valerie the day that a young lady out here, I ain't gonna call her name at all, told me, listen, for right now, deal with that and we can deal with you. And she was talking about the pavilion. And I said to her, I understand. And I was able to deliver. And in turn, they worked with me to develop community projects and to work with the young people because it is a relationship. So while we have things that we know we have to do, we have a responsibility for maintenance. We have a responsibility to keep government properties in good working order. My friends, so do you. And help us keep this place in good working order for the people that are coming after. You know, when I talked to that lady who discovered that her grandson was a part of our team and was benefiting from the work that we were doing there, I reflected that, you know, the work of a government, the work of all of us, is planting trees in whose shade we are never going to sit. We may plant a tree and leave it and let it grow, and it will give shade to our children and our grandchildren and their children. We can't think just about today and the world that we are creating for ourselves in our little bubble. We have to think about the people that we have to care for. And I know that that is the Britain's Hill way. I know that that is the St. Michael South Central way. And I know that that is the St. Michael South way. One of the first things that a young man in the Moral Hall told me when I went in that area in 2016, he came to me and he said, listen, I want land for myself. But you see that old lady in that house there? When the rain falls, she's get wet. I want you to do something about that. I never forget that. I never forget him. I saw him the other day. He's moved away now. But that was my first indication that South Central is a special, special place. Because he had the opportunity to say, so what are you going to do? I want X and I want Y. But he said, I taking care of myself. I young and I strong and I got this. I want you to look out for that old woman. That is the relationship building, the community and the solidarity that I want to encourage tonight. But while we've been able to build the houses through UDC, and while we have some more work to do with the maintenance of the buildings, and I said to the Minister of Housing, when I'm canvassing Valerie High-Rise, you coming with me, because you will answer to the people. I understand. But there's more work to be done here too, in an area that the Barbados Labour Party is perhaps best known for in its policy. And that has to do with the Tenantries Freehold Purchase Act, which allowed people, in partnership with government, to have access to land at prices never before imagined. So that the land that they have been living on and working on, that they could now own. And we lived through a Democratic Labour Party era that saw no transfer of title taking place under that regime. But what we've been able to do in the last few years is finally be able to start to transfer title, to do the surveying and to do the validation to make sure that people can get their papers, because guess what? If I own something, it puts me in a position to be able to go to the bank to say, I want to borrow something to help send school my children. Well, you no longer have to worry about borrowing something to send the children to the University of the West Indies, because we brought free tertiary education back in this country when a Democratic Labour Party removed it. But when you own where you live, you got a little bucketive in case you need something more. You got a little equity. You got some negotiating power. You're not alone in the world. And so what we've started doing, and I'm proud of this in St. Michael South Central, William Dugan spoke up here tonight, and he said some very flattering things about me. And what he did not say to you is that I pester him so often. But the good news about that is that he responds. And William Dugan came to me and said, listen, because I did a lot of advocacy on that. And before, William, you were the minister responsible for UDC, I was able to make sure, because I was part of the estimates meetings, and I was able to make sure that UDC had the money to be able to start transferring title. You came in and you started to accelerate. I don't want you to stop, because guess what? Up in Britain's Hill, we got people that need transfer of title too. So let we go. We got more work to do. And because we got more work to do, And because governance does not fit an electoral cycle, I need you all to vote for the Barbados Labour Party on February 11th. You know, this is not a joke. This is not a friend thing. You could go a friend, let them come in and get them a lemonade or a mobby, but you're not going to vote for them on election day. Vote for the people that you know are going to do the hard work of raising a generation. That's what government is, you know. That's what governance is. That's what stewardship is. The hard work of raising a generation today, and a generation after that, and a generation after that. This is not the space for clowns and people who are here to just fatten their pockets and get an opposition leader pension. That is not what we are setting up ourselves for in 2026. But you know, last night when we were in town, we also talked about some other things that this Barbados Labour Party has been able to do with young people. And I will never stop singing the praises. I don't believe in self-congratulation, but I know when things are working. I will never stop singing the praises of a program that exists in the Ministry of Youth called Project Dawn. And Project Dawn is a program that says to young people, look, you have an idea, you have a work ethic, you have a will to make something happen in your community, we're going to help you. We are going to come to you and talk through with you what it is you want to create. If you want to be a barber, if you want to have a barber shop, if you want to improve your landscaping business, if you want to improve your mechanic shop, we're going to help you set up your company or strengthen your company, and then we are going to give you some of the equipment and the tools that you need to do that. And you know why this is so important? Because I watch people from this community and from Flagstaff and from Carrington Village and from Bannister Land talk to the people at Project Dawn today, and the Monday they were out working with the new equipment that they received. It wasn't a lot of long talk. And while the program is accountable and can show you every dollar and cent of what they spent and where they spent it and how profitable the businesses then become, it is a practical thing. It is a practical thing for many young people who have sat for so long and thought that nobody was hearing them. And I say all the time, you will not always know when a person has gotten help. It is not their responsibility necessarily to tell you, and you will certainly not hear it from me. But leave space in your mind for the idea that some of the people you see around you thriving are thriving through their own hard work, but also through the support of the Barbados Labour Party government. These are real things in people's lives. A young man that benefited from Project Dawn said to me, you know how long I asked that other fella for a weed whacker to help me? And it is not to say that you expect that somebody will always be able to deliver a personal favor, but that's not what he wanted. What he wanted was exactly what he got from this Barbados Labour Party. Some clear direction and some clear access to go out there and do the work. This man has worked hard. And I know he can hear me, so I talking. This man works hard. And you know what else he does? Pick up some of the fellas from about here and carry them with him to work. That is the model that we are looking for. So that businesses come out of communities. I always say, people hear private sector and they think the big companies and they think Massey and they think all of these companies. The private sector is happening every day in communities like Britons Hill and Carrington Village and Flagstaff. Every day. Because a government that sees when people are trying understands how to meet them halfway. You know, Project Dawn also has its surprises because there were two young ladies that talked to me down the road there. One was interested in cosmetology. One was interested in hairdressing. The other one was interested in doing nails. And I give them the information, and My guy, the officer from Project Dawn, came and spoke to them, and I left that in their hands. Then when I saw the officer a few months later, and I asked, I said, you make sure that my girls get through? He said, well, they get through, but I don't know if they get through in the way that you want. Because the one that they want to do nails now doing backhoe operation, and the one that they want to do hairdressing doing tiling. I said, well, no problem. Well, no problem. Because this Barbados Labour Party government is also one that modernizes the labor force and the labor market. And what's wrong with seeing more women out there operating a backhoe? It certainly, it might be a little more money in it, based on the construction boom in this country. I don't know if William talked about that tonight, but you usually can't get him to shut up about it. A lot of work out there for people who can mobilize and with our help can make some of these things happen in their communities. The question of roads and infrastructure is a big one. It is a big one. And it is one of the reasons that if you have seen our team out canvassing and talking to you in communities, you will not only see them with this document, you will see them with an addition to this document. That is a roads report. Because I determined that the people of St. Michael South Central must have full information about the advocacy that has been done on their behalf to get the roads fixed. Now, I perhaps know more than anybody the problems that we had with stabilizing the Scotland district. And William, you know well. When I was Minister for Economic Affairs and Investment, I also had to deal with climate. And part of the climate work was to be able to figure out, or there, what is going to change in our reality in Barbados as a result of this climate crisis. And one of the things we did not want to take any chances with, because who knew what was going to happen, was the already unstable Scotland district that is 15% of this Barbados. And so we knew that a Ministry of Transport and Works would have to do a lot of stabilization work that was very expensive and would take a long time. And understanding that, as a minister that was responsible for some of these projects and a minister that was responsible for planning, I said to my people in St. Michael South Central, all right, give them a break. Because all can't do at once. Especially after so long without maintenance. Give them a break. However, there have been roads done in St. Michael. And while we know that everybody can't get fed at once if you got to line up to take up food from the buffet, we also know that investing in people's communities and safety is important. And I feel strongly about this, and anybody that has heard me in the last 4 years knows that I feel strongly about this. Down there in Fords Road, there was a tree at the corner of Laynes Road and Fords Road. I tell y'all, give me a blight spot meeting tonight. There was a tree at the corner of Fords Road and Laynes Road that, try as you would, nobody would show up to trim it. And I tell y'all, I don't wait for people. If I could do something myself and I see that it is a threat to my people and my community, I do it. So we went. And when you look in this, you will see the projects that are done with government support. And you will quite frankly see what are listed as independent projects. What does that mean? It means that the MP had to get up and say, you know what? Well, they didn't hear me. Let me go and cut the tree. We cut in the tree ourselves. And we did that in Fords Road, but guess what? The road is one of the roads that we submitted so long ago that is desperately in need of repair. And so, this is my government. This is my Barbados Labour Party family. And I know that when the Prime Minister tells me, I come into you now, 2026 is your year, I know I can believe her. But I am telling you this up here tonight so that you can also believe her and look for some of those works to happen. Because there is no way that you can say to people, take pride in your community, if you do not express pride alongside them with the work that you do. I have one last thing to say up here tonight. And I want you all to listen good, good, good. When listening? Good, good. When I sound good. I want to come back to the idea of relationships and community because I have noticed some things. And there's another relationship that you have to pay attention to. There is a man, I would say walking around this constituency, but he's not really walking around. He's driving in and out in particular places because I'm not sure that he represents or aims to represent everybody. He's going in and out, a random house here, a random house there. That might be his way. But he has been invisible and absent in this constituency for the last 4 years. Invisible and absent. And I want you to think hard about what he is trying to tell you by that absence. What the song that he got say? He outside your window? That's what the song that they got say. He outside your window and he outside your door. But I don't know why. I think maybe some y'all should get a restraining order because I don't know where you people at. But he has been completely absent from your lives for 4 years. Do not let this man insult your intelligence. Do not let him insult your families and your sense of commitment and what you know is right. I will say this. It is not every time that my phone rings that I am able to answer. I tell people all the time, send me a WhatsApp message, please. And it is not every house that I have gotten into in the last 4 years. But ask the people out here about the work that we've been able to do and the presence that we've been able to have in these communities in St. Michael South Central, and they will tell you that I have been able to deliver. I am not perfect, and I have not been able to do everything for you that I wanted to do, and that is why I need your vote on the 11th of February, because this Barbados Labour Party government has a lot of work to do. Kirk Humphrey has a lot of work to do. But I also want, in the last minute that I have up here, to tell you something else. It is not just his invisibility and his absence, but I want you to look at the leadership that he is lining up behind to give you an idea of the Barbados that you could look forward to if you vote for any Democratic Labour Party candidate in this election. Look at the leadership that he is lining up behind. You know, there's a lot of talk about who left and gone where, but the equation is very simple. Tyra Trotman left the Democratic Labour Party because she had a contribution to make and she hated foolishness. That simple. Michael Lashley left the Democratic Labour Party. The scales fell from his eyes and he was able to see the right and proper way. And he left the Democratic Labour Party to join a progressive movement in this country with us because he hates foolishness. It is that simple. But the rest of them continue to line up behind and support foolishness and chaos. I have never been more convinced that Ralph Thorne has not the slightest idea about how to run a country. I am told that he also does not have much clue about how to run a practice, but I'm not a lawyer. I leave that for the lawyers to talk about. But I implore you not to put your confidence and your lives and the lives of your children in the likes of Ralph Thorne and the Democratic Labour Party. Not because I say so, but because when you look back at the record and when you listen now to hear what they're offering you, it is nothing. It is nothing to edify you or your communities or this country. So I want you to listen good. When I listen in, I want you to vote for Kirk Humphrey in St. Michael South. I want you to vote for William Dugan in Christchurch West so that good will attend to you. And I need you to vote for Marsha Caddle in St. Michael South Central so our good work can continue. Ladies and gentlemen, good night and thank you.
Marsha Caddle. Anyway, Marsha step pillar, me going step so BLP stepping with a brave heart. You know see the bees, got the whole place wet till the D's we don't take car. Anyway, me step Marsha Caddle going step car BLP stepping with a brave heart. Me and more man if was showing how we corner. Tell the D's we don't take car. This lady so quiet, intelligent, hardworking. Marsha says she can't stop helping. She don't do the finna money nor pay. South Central, the problems just call her Marsha support the old and the young, yeah, working as a team. South Central and you know what me mean. And nothing is greater than Marsha. See all I wanna accomplish then dream. We go where BLP go, they don't lie. BLP's riding for you and for I. We are go where BLP go, they don't lie. Don't ask me how I know. Marsha Caddle, BLP, come on. Anyway, Marsha step pillar, me going step so BLP step.